Hey guys, how's it going? It's Slunk at Drownboy Productions, and today I have something very, very special for you guys. So this is kind of strange because this is one of those cases where you own something and you know it's special but you don't know exactly why. And then someone comes along and tells you why that mask feels so special and it all makes sense. So today I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit about the Scream 2 production masks. This isn't necessarily a comprehensive guide covering masks used in that film. I will be doing one of those soon, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this piece. So recently, thanks to Ryan Hill, some information has been made public about some very, very special Scream masks. Now this information has been out there quite a while, but it's been highly protected and highly regarded. I've known a little bit about this, but I actually didn't really know all the details about this, and I was told just a bit about it a couple of years ago, but never really inquired further because I just wasn't really that interested. I just thought, whatever, leave it alone. If I find out the rest, I'll find out the rest when it happens. And that day has finally come. A couple of years ago, I was messaged by someone in the Scream and Ghostface Collectors group about a particular mask that I had that had some particularly strange marks. And that may have made it a special mask. Maybe. But I was never really given any of the full information on that mask and to why it was special or anything like that. Pretty much just that this may be this. Don't say anything about it. When the information comes to light, then you can tell people. So I guess it would make sense to go all the way back to the beginning of the use of this mold to tell the full story. So as some of you know, the Generation 1 Fantastic Faces Weeping Ghost was the main mask that was used for Scream 1. However, during the production of Scream 1, they ordered some more masks to be used for filming. Funworld ended up filling that order and coming up with the Generation 2 Fantastic Faces. Now at this time it was just called the Fantastic Faces Weeping Ghost. Nothing beyond that. Generation 1 and Generation 2 comes from fans. However, it does have significance in the fact that there was a completely different mold, and then they made a second mold for a new mask. While it's completely unknown as to the exact reasons as to why this new mold was made, whether it be because the old one was getting used out, we know that it had some mold scarring, a few issues here and there, but was that the main reason, or was the Generation 2 created to keep up with the hype of the demand of these masks when Scream was going to come out? That would mean that these were produced roughly around 1996. Now what I have here is an original deep mold Generation 2 Fantastic Faces. Cotton shroud, everything about it. No mold scarring on this, as you can see. No scars, no problems. Nice, beautiful, gorgeous mask. No issues. This is how they would have originally been released and produced. Because by late 97, whenever Scream 2 came out, they already had these for sale. The Fearsome Faces mask. Of course, this is the mask that most people would know to be like the Scream 2 style mask, right? Most fans out there, whenever they think of the Scream 2 mask, they think of a poly shroud Fearsome Faces or a poly shroud Generation 2 mask. Because this is a Generation 2 mold, the very same mold that I just showed you. However, that's the deeper mold. This is a shallow mold. And by this point in time, the mask had mold scars right along the edges of the mask here. I'll be sure to put close-ups in so you guys can really see it, but they're there. But as it turns out, these are not exactly the style masks that were used for Scream 2. During Scream 1, all the masks they used were modified, but they were modified by the production themselves. None of the masks came from Funworld modified. They were all stock counter-quality masks. Well, during the production of Scream 2, they wanted something a bit nicer, a bit higher quality than what was on the market at the moment, which was the standard Fearsome Faces mask like I just showed you. So they ordered Funworld to make these masks in a better quality and specifically to the studio's requests. They wanted it to have much better than that style shroud, so instead they went back to the cotton style shroud. And this special run of masks had a few differences. Mainly in the thickness of the vinyl. But instead of it being a thicker and more opaque vinyl, they wanted something different. They wanted it to be firm, but they wanted it to also be flimsy. And instead of having a thick, opaque vinyl mask, they wanted these to be solid, but flimsy. All the hero masks were a much thinner, flimsier vinyl than most people would understand. To accomplish these qualities on the mask, they actually had to change up the PVC vinyl mix a little bit, and it ended up causing a few issues. If you look in the film, you can actually see some yellow stains or yellow marks on certain parts of the mask that was actually being used on screen. And over time, those yellow marks have turned brown. And I've actually seen that on quite a few masks, and learning some of this information, I thought that's kind of strange. And not too long ago I was speaking with Nate Reagan, who actually has the best example of one of these types of masks because he owns the main hero mask from Scream 2, and he was showing me some pictures and video of that mask, and I was looking at the qualities of it, just certain things about it, and thought, that's really strange. A lot of the qualities that that mask has, a mask that I have also has. That mask being this one, which at first glance pretty much just looks like a Fearsome Faces, but if you look a bit closer, it does have a cotton shroud. Now, I actually owned this mask like 3 years ago, and this has been the one that's been going between me and my friend Jeremy back and forth for a few years. Kind of our little favorite piece here. And oddly enough, like I said, we knew there was something special about this mask, but didn't know quite what it was. We liked it because of how thin and flimsy the vinyl was, but didn't really know the full information on it. And as it would turn out, Funworld produced 500 masks in the same exact style. They produced 500 pieces that had cotton shrouds on Fearsome Faces masks, and they would have been Fearsome Faces because they were tagged and sold as Fearsome Faces. Out of the 500 made, 200 were sent to set, I presume to use for like the stab sequence or whatever they needed them for, and then they picked their hero masks out of that lot. And the remainder of those were sent to retail and sold out. And this would have been one of those masks. This has all the signifying markers from the fact that it's basically a Fearsome, the Shallow Mold Gen 2, Fearsome mask with a cotton shroud, plus it also does have the mold scarring on the sides. That's another big telltale sign on these, is that it has the mold scarring right down here on either sides of the cheeks. And obviously the sewing patterns on these aren't 100% consistent, but they're pretty close, and what I love about this one in particular is comparing this to some screenshots from the theater scene in the film. This mask is actually very, very close, not just the shape of the eyes and shape of the face, but the mold scarring on the sides and the space between the shroud and those scars is remarkably close. So, turns out, this is a Scream 2 production mask that would have been sent to retail. And I didn't even know it. All these years, this mask has been between our possessions and neither of us knew it until recently when that information was made available. And it turns out if some of you out there have a mask very, very similar, you know, looks like a Fearsome Faces, has the same mold scarring on either side, has a cotton shroud, is that very, very thin style vinyl, and probably has marks, like you can see around the eyes there, those little dark marks that used to be yellow and now have turned brown. Turns out you might actually have one of these production masks as well. They are few and far between, not many of them have popped up in the collection world, but I'm definitely happy to find out that I have one of these because now I have a production mask from one of the Scream films, and out of all the ones that it could be for, it's from Scream 2, and closely resembles the theater scene. And guess what, guys? That's the theater robe. So, that Fearsome Faces that was on that display is going to come off, and I'm actually going to put this piece on the display because after all, that would be the most accurate thing I could do. So there you guys have it. Now you know the story of the Scream 2 production masks. Tell me, do you guys out there happen to have one? Go through, check your collection. If you do, let me know in the comment section down below. I love to hear about that kind of stuff. I hope you guys learned something from watching, and yet again, a huge thank you to Ryan Hills, and I want to give a shout out to the Scream and Ghostface Collectors group on Facebook. If you love Scream and Ghostface, that's the place to be, and I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.